Vivadi's style and Vivadi's pedagogy. So I'm going to go like from major concepts and why we got to the rubrics that we are using right now. One major concept in Vivadi is confidence. We developed this big matrix in which we detailed like everything that we want students students to develop in terms of the acquisition of the language, from the very first starting point to the ending point. Like the starting point would be they don't understand English, they don't speak English, they are not in touch with English, they don't have a relationship with English, and the ending point is they understand English, they can speak English, and they have a committed relationship with the language. So confidence is something that we believe it's necessary and essential for the kid to get to the ending point. That the process will be long, it might take years, and that is totally okay and understandable, but I want to make focus on the confidence part. Why? Because we need students to be able to feel confident about themselves, about their process of acquisition of the language, and to be able to participate in class. Like in most traditional education, and tell me if you remember this from where you were little, or this still happens to us today as adults. Like we only participate when we know we are right. We don't like to participate when we might make a mistake. And in the process of acquisition of a language, mistakes are part of the process. Like when a baby was born in Brazil or here in Argentina, and they start acquiring the Spanish language or the Portuguese language, babies start speaking something and they speak wrongly. They sing the wrong words, the wrong pronunciation, and parents cheer them up. Like they're so happy that they are starting to speak something, and that should be the same with the acquiring of a second language. And I don't know why. Educational systems throughout history condemns mistakes. Well, we all know what our history has taught us, and schools before were really harsh on mistakes more than they are today. Well, like today, beating students because they made a mistake is totally wrong and unacceptable, but that happened before. But the concept of mistakes, of making mistakes, is still wrong, I would think, in the actual educational system. Like students get sad when they make mistakes. They get, I don't know, low marks when they make mistakes. They're not like celebrated for participating when they make mistakes. So that that drowns their confidence. Like that don't help their confidence, because if someone is afraid of participating because they will be condemned for their mistakes or they will be corrected, they might not participate until they're sure that they have the right answer. And with acquisition of the language, that doesn't work, because we need them to get them talking, to get them talking in a wrong way. We need them to make mistakes, so that eventually they can start getting better and they can start correcting themselves. So this is why confidence is a major concept that we believe in, and that we need to empower students with this confidence and build trust on themselves in them. So we believe in that. This is one thing. And we also think that, as we're not asking, I was talking to Regis about this, in our program, we're not asking students to write or to read. And we have, this is a conscious decision that is really disruptive in terms of traditional programs or traditional textbooks. We made a study. The first thing we did last year was to make a study about all the textbooks that are commonly used in schools for children from 5 to 8 years old that are used with them to acquire English language. And they all ask students from the very first day to write or to read in a language that they don't even know. So we think that this is totally different to the natural process of acquisition of a language that we were speaking before. Like when a baby is born, we don't ask them to read or to write in Portuguese or in Spanish here. We bring them into the world, and in a world that speaks in that language and that surrounds them in that language, they have this atmosphere in which they first listen a lot. Eventually 2 years later or 1 year later, they start speaking some words. And when they are 5 or 6 years old, they start writing and reading. So we believe in that natural process, and that's why we're not asking students at the very first stage of Vivadí to write or read. So our testing method shouldn't ask them to write or read either. And that's what standardized testing do. So that's why standardized testing or normal traditional testing doesn't fit our program, because of the confidence thing and because we're not asking them to read or write. So due to these reasons, we believe that rubrics are the most suitable method that we can use. Rubrics are a tool that will help the teacher evaluate students' real acquisition of the language, and not have students learning at the service of the testing. Because what usually happens in traditional teaching in schools is that teachers need to put a mark on students because they need to do it to certify something for the system itself. And what ends up happening is that like learning is at the service of the evaluation, and not in terms of the real, and not testing. And we don't have testing like at the service of the learning of our students. Was it clear? I think I messed up, but okay, you got it. So we need this. We need evaluation at the service of students' acquire of the language and not on the other way around. So rubrics in itself are a set of criteria that are related to learning objectives. So our first step was creating learning objectives. So we developed this matrix that I talked about earlier that contains every step of the way the children will be going through, from the starting point that is 0 English in their lives to the ending point that is a lot of English in their lives. And with all of these objectives in terms of confidence, in terms of vocabulary, in terms of, I don't know, in terms of their body, in terms of semantics, in terms of phonics, in terms of many things, we took some of these objectives, like the first ones, to create cycle 1. So cycle 1 contains the very first objectives of our big conceptual matrix. Am I good to hear? Yeah, okay. Because I am like always speaking about this, and maybe, I don't know, I'm not doing it right. So I'm going to share the screen so that you can see the rubrics that I'm talking about. Share. I'm here. Are you seeing my screen? Are you watching my screen right now? Yeah, great. Thank you, Julie. So here are the objectives of the first cycle. I will read them out loud. It is to introduce Vivadí's routine to help the students distinguish the English class from other classes, to generate curiosity for the content in the students, to help them start developing a relationship between them and the language, and to begin to build trust in the child regarding the use of the language. So they're really like basic and starting. We're not expecting them in the first cycle to be able to speak a lot or to be able, we're just starting with little things. that it's about the routine, like for them to, we want them to start the class and to be calm and to know what will happen, and not just, I don't know, get afraid or anxious about not knowing what they will have to do, or afraid that we're asking them something that they can't do. We want them to be calm and generate curiosity for a content that they don't know, because they don't have a relationship with English at the first stage. So we want them to say, hey, this, I don't know, if someone speaks to me in Arabic, I'm not curious about learning Arabic. And we know that they might not be curious about learning English, so we want them to get curious about it. Like say, hey, I want to, like, create the need for them to understand what is being said to them. And the last one is about building trust. Like, okay, starting to build like this confidence in themselves that it will eventually later get them speaking something. So here we have the rubric itself. The rubric, what we did was we turned the objectives into observable behaviors that can be located in the rubric according to 3 levels of scope. Levels of scope are this: not achieved, achieved, and mastered. So we have the routine objective, the curiosity objective, and the confidence objective, all detailed into this, separated into these 3 levels of scope. So for example, in curiosity, in the not achieved part, we get: the student does not identify or distinguish the routine of the class. He does not show familiarity with what is presented week by week. So this might be the case of a student that, I mean, our program, especially for URegis, we have these cycles that repeat week by week the same activities. Maybe the content or the story might change, but the structure of the class is always the same, in the same cycle. So if you're a student, you still have to go get him and say, hey, come here because we're going to tell the story, or hey, pay attention because now we're going to watch the video. And he doesn't show like he's I don't know, lost in the routine. Okay, he's in this stage. Achieved is the student identifies the routine of the class. He shows familiarity with what is presented week after week. And mastered is the student identifies the routine of the class and responds with enthusiasm, comfort, and receptivity to it. Maybe this is the case of a student that is really willing to do, I don't know, to watch the video because he already knows that he loves the part in which, I don't know, something happens. So what we expect you teachers to do is to, here you have the sheets document or a download printable version. I have them here, I think. My computer is a bit slow today. Well, here is the sheets. When you, in this case, you can do the rubric online or on your computer. And here is the printable version that you can just print and fill out manually. So let's get back here. So you should fill the rubric. Here is where it says A, B, 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 C, C, C. That are supposed to be the names of the students. And you just have to put a cross in the level of scope and in which that student is. So it is important here, I think, to make focus on the role of a teacher as a generator of atmosphere, because you will be generating this English world, but also as an observer. Like it is a really good practice for a teacher to be always like observing what is going on, and this personalized strategy with students empower a teacher as a really good observer, and that's a really good thing. So this rubric, we recommend that is filled every 2 weeks. so that you have like a general, you have a sense of the evolution of the acquisition of the language of students. And as you fill all the rubric with all the names of the students, you will have this general view of the class that is really valuable to us. I mean, you will have the individual part, but also the class vision. And that is what will determine if students are ready to go to the next cycle. So I will stop sharing so that you can see me again. Here I am, okay. And a good thing about the rubrics is that in this way, we are doing a great thing, I believe. That is, we are respecting students' pace of acquisition of the language. We're not rushing into things. Acquisition of the language is something that is so important for them, and that if we rush into things, there will be some holes that will never be filled. So I think that the rubric is a really good strategy because, and the program itself, because we don't need to, it's not that you need to do 10 cycles to finish in the year, and in December, if you have done only 6, this is the worst teacher ever and the worst class. Nothing to do with that. Everyone should be proud, like you teachers, the parents, and we are, of having the ability to respect and to be patient with students. Real timing. Like, I don't know. We tend not to be patient in traditional education system. So this is really disruptive and really transforming, and this is really good. So Toby, I know that you want to say something. Wait a minute, please. So going back to the 2 weeks thing, a good, if we're here for teachers to go with you and to decide with you when's the best moment for the kids, for the class to go on to the next cycle. So it would be a really good thing if when you send if you do the rubrics every 2 weeks, you could or share the sheets document, or I don't know, send us a picture of the printed version, or share it by email, whatever way you feel it's best for you. And we can decide together when's the best moment to pass to the next cycle. I mean, you teachers are the ones that are there with the students, and you know the students a lot more than we do. So we're really willing to listen to your opinion and your view of what's going on. But yeah, we're here to do that together, and we're not in a hurry. I mean, the important thing is that we don't have to rush into contents. Okay, Toby, what were you going to say?
Opa, gente. Bom, muito legal a explicação, o primeiro conceito. Aí eu tinha uma pergunta que eu fiz muitas vezes para você e eu gostaria que possa explicar isso para a galera aqui dos professores do Vivadí, que é qual é a diferença de fazer um exame, mas não a diferença concreta, sino qual é a diferença conceptual entre fazer um exame e fazer uma rúbrica? Ou por que a gente escolhe as rúbricas como método?
Right. I think that we all believe that in traditional testing, like the main character of that situation is the certifying part. Like, students do tests because teachers need to put a grade on that test, like a mark, for the school and for the parents to say, okay, my child knows how to do this and this and this because he completed this form in this way. Which is not obviously, or which is not usually they don't show, these testings don't show, and I experienced this, the real abilities of the students, the real acquisition of the language. And in the rubrics, the main character is the student itself. Like, we're not doing it for the parents or for the school. We're doing it for them. to be able to respect their time, their pace of learning. And in this way, I mean, the acquisition of the language itself and the learning of vocabulary and many English things will turn more real, more significative, and it will definitely stay in the students. Like when students need to study for a vocabulary test, I have a teacher that calls it in a really funny way. They learn things most probably by heart, because they know how to fill the form of the test, because they learned that, and they go, they do it, they get a good mark, and they forget about things. We want them to know, not if they know how to spell all the colors in English or the numbers. We want to know if they are able to use that as a communicative tool. And that's real. Like many parents may say, oh, this is, my children is great, he can say red and green and yellow, but can they use it? Like, can they use it to really say something? Because getting them to say red, yellow, and blue is really easy. We know that. That's why we believe rubrics are more useful to evaluate English as a communicative tool, not just as a content that we have to know, like colors, for example.
Also, Mora, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Also, I think when we do like that, they don't feel like, because they don't see when we are seeing if they are right or not right. It's just we observe them, so they don't feel like they have to be perfect or they have to know something. They just are free, playing with us, enjoying the practice, and then they can, let it go and understand. You don't. They learn naturally. They don't have to feel like, oh, now it's time for the test, so I have to. You understand me?
I do. Yeah, you're totally right. Like, this also helps them in terms of their confidence, because sentence testing and making mistakes tear down his confidence.
Yes, right.
Pergunta aqui para a galera dos professores. Alguma vez vocês entraram com um método de avaliação parecido, aunque sea conceptualmente, com as rúbricas? Você tem experiência trabalhando com esto, alguma coisa?
Eu já, mas não em inglês. Não com inglês. Eu já fui, eu antes de dar aula de inglês, eu já dei bastante aula de várias outras matérias. E eu gostava de fazer dessa forma. Eu avaliava tudo, desde a forma que a pessoa chegava na sala de aula, como a participação dela em sala de aula. Eu só fazia provas formais, exames formais, quando era exigido pela escola. Fora isso, eu sempre preferi avaliar de outras formas. Isso que a Mora falou me lembrou de um podcast que eu gosto muito de ouvir, que elas falam: "We believe in connection, not perfection."
We believe in connection, not perfection. I will write that down.
Yeah. É aquela questão, né, de estabelecer conexões, fazer com que uma pessoa consiga conectar com outra através do inglês e não pensar em ser perfeito. Porque quando você tenta ser perfeito, você acaba se travando e acaba não se conectando.
E aí, Regis, aporta uma questão que é: quando a gente está desenvolvendo uma língua, é impossível ser perfeito de entrada. Se você estaria todo o tempo fazendo correções sobre meu português, mais confiança para falar português. Eu sentiria com vergonha. E, obviamente, eu fiz um montão de erros, mas pouco a pouco vou eliminando os erros e vou melhorando. Então, aí é um ponto chave e Mora, por favor, ponga todo su concepto en esto que voy a falar, que você é a pessoa que sabe, que é na questão de acompanhar a confiança do aluno para produzir, para tentar falar alguma coisa e não você está falando ruim, você está falando errado. Não, não é essa palavra, é outra.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier. Like, if we condemn the mistakes, we're expecting them in the end. We're really expecting them to be perfect, and we should not expect them to be perfect. That's impossible. No one learns something from the beginning perfectly. So that's why we believe in changing the traditional conception of mistakes.
Bom, galera.
Canadá. E eu vejo que eles não ligam tanto para quando a gente comete erros, porque eles estão felizes que a gente consegue se comunicar com eles, porque eles não conseguem se comunicar com a gente.
Exactly. That's totally right. Like, we believe in English as a communicative tool, not some perfect content that we need to learn by heart. That's
Ok, de novo.
also in terms of our rubrics and our site. I really want you to know that we're here for any doubt or anything that you might have in terms of how to share the rubric with us, or how to get our children to the next cycle, when's the best moment. Like, don't doubt to ask us by WhatsApp, by Alex in the Vivadí site, or whatever. We're totally here for you.
Perfeito, gente. Bom, primer estímulo, primer contacto con las rúbricas do Vivadí, y acho que fue bastante claro. Voy a agradecer, Mora, por esta primera conversa, y vamos a ficar constantes. Seguramente la semana que viene a gente tendrá otra conversa do ciclo 1 y trabajar sobre eso con você. Y, gente, vamos a convidar a todos vocês para amanhã, donde o Bruna vai trabalhar dentro da questão da plataforma, ou como funciona, ou quais são os instrumentos que a plataforma tem para fazer feedback, para contestar alguma dúvida e tudo isso. Assim que, muito obrigado por seu tempo. Vamos todos para almoçar e beijo.
Beijo, muito obrigada.
Tchau, gente.
Obrigado. Tchau.